Brothers and sisters, happy Easter. Let us celebrate the victory of our God. Easter celebrates that our God is alive. Our God is present to each and every one of us. He's no longer in the tomb. He is now present to every one of us in every time, in every circumstance, and in every season. Easter celebrates that truth, once crucified, will rise again. That evil and death will never have the last say in the life of any Christian. All of us who hope and believe in Jesus, we will have the victory of our God. As that famous song says, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. All my fears are gone, because I know he holds my future. I love the gospel for Easter Sunday. The gospel from John chapter 20 that says that early in the morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb. And then she beheld the greatest miracle of all times. The tomb was empty. A few years ago, I had the privilege of going into this empty tomb. I had a friend, a Franciscan, who made it possible for me to spend a quiet time in this empty tomb by myself while they sang the Vespers. It was for me one of the most moving experiences of my life to be inside that empty tomb and pray and light. I have forgotten probably how many candles I lit for so many of my brothers and sisters, my parishioners. But I said, what did Mary feel? Like we will sing in the Victime Paschalis, tell us, Mary, what did you see? How did they feel beholding the empty tomb? I always ask myself that reading that we hear on Sunday. Why did Jesus rise while it was still dark? Because we know God chose when Jesus rose from the dead. And as the account says, the linen, both the outer covering and the inner covering, were all put together. So it's not like what happened was disorderly. People came, stole the body. No, it was all the ordered plan of God. So why did Jesus rise while it was still dark? Why not in the evening or in the sunshine? Perhaps it is to teach us that when it is darkest in your life, you should not lose hope. It's to teach us as Christians and all believers who look up to Jesus that beyond the shadows, beyond the cloud of uncertainty, beyond our sufferings and our pains, our doubts and fears, that God is always victorious. Evil, death, injustice will never have the last word in the life of all of us who believe. Yes, sometimes you look at the world and you wonder, why is God silent? Why do good people suffer? The answer is found in the resurrection. The story of Jesus, the betrayals, the tragedy of the persecution and the crucifixion, the injustice he suffered, the ingratitude from people. But at the end, he was victorious. He is risen, telling us that the way of Jesus is the way of victory. The way of Jesus is the way of life. God always wins. And because we follow Jesus the winner, each and every one of us, we will win over the tragedies, pains, and tribulations that we face living our lives authentically and credibly like Jesus lived. Following Jesus and being faithful to our mission, to our calling, our vocation, and doing it with faith and courage. That is Easter. Desmond Tutu said that for us Christians, we are not optimistic, we are hopeful. Optimism is found on certain human qualities or human end. If, for instance, I win a lottery, thousands or millions of dollars, then I'll be optimistic about tomorrow, that I'm going to buy this, I'm going to do this with the money. Hope is of a different quality. Hope is the certainty, the eruption of God's power in our lives in bringing us to where God wants us to be in spite of us. Hope is the assurance that we have that the victory of Jesus will be ours as we follow the way of Jesus. But the time of victory, when we will receive the crown, is never determined. So sometimes in between now and when God intervenes, you might have to wait, just like Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days. That's a waiting period. Sometimes the victory does not come to you immediately. Sometimes you suffer because of doing good. Do not lose hope. In the end, you will have the victory of God. That's what Desmond Tutu was telling the South Africans, saying, well, in the midst of all the problems they had after the release of Nelson Mandela and then black on black violence, it looked like apocalypse. But he said, no, we don't lose hope, because our hope is built on a person, on the victory of God. Yes, you might be going through a lot right now in your life. You look around the world, you might lose hope. Even your own failings or the tragedies that you have experienced. But we Christians will look beyond the shadows, because beyond the shadows lies this power of God. It is that courage that comes from faith that made the early Christians to be bold. Think of Mary Magdalene going to the tomb early in the morning by herself. That's how much love she had for Jesus beyond death. That's how much faith she had in Jesus to go there to anoint the body and then to behold this miracle. Each and every one of us, followers of Jesus, must have the courage that comes from faith. And hope is not something that you bring upon yourself. It's a gift that God gives you as you trust in the Lord. Gradually, you begin to feel this energy, this supreme transcendental power that is incarnate in this person of Jesus. And then you begin to manifest in your daily life courage in the face of adversity, strength when surrounded by misfortune, and hope beyond your own personal power. So let us remember, we are Easter people because we are risen with Christ. The Lord gives each and every one of us the message that He gave to Mary Magdalene. Go and tell my brothers and sisters, I am risen, I am alive. We do not worship a dead God, we worship a living God. That's the beauty of our faith. And because we worship a living God, we are alive. Death, injustice, even the tragedies of betrayal and everything that makes you sad today should not take away from you the joy of knowing that the victory of the Lord is coming your way. The tomb is empty because Jesus is alive and present to all of us at all times and in every circumstance. Let us thank the Lord, and let us rejoice, and let us become bold like the early church, the early Christians. And with that boldness that comes from faith, let us go forth with Jesus, our champion, so that we can win victories, many victories for God, by living like Jesus, following Jesus, doing exactly what he sent us to do here on earth. And if we follow him faithfully, his faith will become ours, and his victory will become our victory as well. God bless you, and happy Easter.